10th caller right now at 800-636-1067 wins a pair of tickets to see 50 Cent and G Unit at the Fillmore Silver Spring next Thursday night. Tickets for the show are still available. Go to livenation.com to get yours today. Very cool. Call in to win.
We haven't touched on it much. And I feel bad for, I see Danny's getting really upset with the Wizards. And I'm a diehard Wizards fan, and I'm upset too. I don't like to see them lose. But I think we have to readjust our expectations here a little bit. That's what I'm doing for me. I can't tell anybody else what to do for themselves.
You have to readjust them?
Yeah.
What were your expectations?
Going in, I said I thought they could win close to 50 games.
Well, I think they'll get there.
Right. And I thought, I thought really getting to the second round was really the minimum threshold, and they would. Now I think it's just going to be a crapshoot. And that they're a good team, not a great team. There's clearly something
what I've
lacking.
said all along.
Pete has a great clip. I don't know where Pete is. Do you have it, Drabby? Where Whitman is calling the guys out.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up here.
One thing that I pointed out earlier, and it could just be a minor slump, but if you look at Gortat, last 6 games, he's only been double figures twice. I know that's a very small sample size, but one of the strengths of this team, it's going to be all about matchups. One of the strengths of this team is they are big. And a lot of people look at the Atlanta Hawks have the best record in the East, say the Hawks actually are going to have a problem against bigger teams. They lost yesterday to the Pelicans, their first loss in over a month. They had a 19-game winning streak. The Hawks inside, Anthony Davis, Ashik, those guys are big. They beat the Hawks. The Wizards have strength with Gortat, Nene, Chris Humphries off the bench, Seraphin off the bench. They can win big. So I think that if they played a team like the Hawks, they got a shot. When they go up against the other bigger teams that can match up, like the Bulls, I think they'll have a tougher time. So I think it's all about the matchups. But I've said all along, I think it's going to come down to, even though the rankings are different, I think it's come down to Cleveland or Chicago in the East.
Yeah, I think it's just they're good, not great. And
that's what they are.
It's a fun team to watch. And maybe they got a little full of themselves. I mean,
I don't
Randy
think
Whitman,
they got full of themselves. I just think that this is what they are, really. They're not a great team. And I thought that Beal would step up a little bit more than he has. Now, he's played a little bit better of late. I think he led the team in scoring yesterday.
Yeah, but he only got to the line twice.
They need more out of Beal.
He's too much of a jump shooter at this point in his career. He needs to take the ball to the basket hard, right? Do what James Harden does. Take the ball to the basket.
James Harden is going to probably win the MVP this year.
You would love for Beal to develop into that.
Okay, but that's a model your game after that.
They're different players. I mean, James Harden is essentially a point guard. Bradley Beal's not.
James Harden shoots threes,
do you have a problem?
Takes it hard to the basket.
I would maybe say you want him to be a little bit more like Klay Thompson, who primarily is a jump shooter, but does take the ball to the rack more. I mean, James Harden gets to the free throw line, I think, more than anybody in the game.
He's like in the top 3. Exactly. That's why I bring him up.
But he has the ball in his hands. Bradley Beal's an off-the-ball player because you have John Wall with the ball.
No, I get it. When you get it on the wing, take it to the basket. You can do that. You don't have to bring the ball up court to get to the basket. Not all 2 guards.
They're
just
31
just
and
spot up
18.
and shoot.
I think that maybe you've just come to the realization you had higher expectations than me. I think this is what they are. They are a good team. They're going to probably be anywhere from a 3 to a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and then they're going to have a tough first-round matchup.
And you got to worry about
they could win.
I thought they had a chance to be special, and I don't think that anymore. And I think you listen to Randy Whitman's comments. This is where I think they probably played a little over their heads at the beginning, and now Randy's talking about effort.
He's frustrated.
He's talking about effort.
He's upset with home losses to the Hornets. You don't let them come in and beat you at Verizon Center.
But the Hornets,
that's a bad loss.
After a disastrous start.
That's a bad loss with no Kemba Walker.
The Hornets, after a disastrous start, have played much better the last month and a half. If you were to look at their record over the last 20 games, you'd be surprised. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've been on the come. The Wizards are probably going to end up with the 5 seed. That's how I see it, because I think Chicago and Cleveland are going to rise up. Cleveland doesn't lose anymore. 11 games in a row. Chicago's a really good team.
The 5 seed is a disaster because if it plays out, and it never does, but if it plays out according to seed, you're a first-round loser.
Yeah, it's a kind of a toss-up matchup.
Yeah,
You'd be facing a team. I really believe Chicago and Cleveland are going to pass Toronto. I don't think that they'll catch Atlanta. But here's what Randy Whitman said last night.
And until we all get on the same page and come out and play hard for 48 minutes and look yourself in the mirror and say, what can I do more, rather than pointing our finger at it's not me. That's where we're at.
That's
Finger
huge.
pointing in the locker room.
That's huge.
Remember, we had kind of a debate, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, because Boswell wrote an article looking at like advanced metrics, and it was about schedule strength, and it was about point differential. And I think the reality is they are a good team, EB. But when you were if you were to rank the teams, and I know this really irks Cakes, you'd take 7 or 8 teams out of the Western Conference as better than the Wizards, and you'd probably take 3 or 4 teams from the Eastern Conference. You'd probably rank them as about the 12th best team in the NBA.
Here's I'm looking at the free throw leaders, okay? James Harden, shooting guard, getting to the line 9 times.
But again, he's really
Okay.
a point guard. Watch him play.
All right. Jimmy Butler, shooting guard, 7.6 times per game. DeMar DeRozan, shooting guard, 7 times per game.
Those guys take the ball to the rack. I mean, there's no denying it.
Right.
Bradley Beal doesn't take the ball to
He's
the
more
rack.
of a
That's all
spot-up
I'm
shooter.
saying. That's all I'm saying.
And maybe that's something he'll develop that he'll morph into the longer he's in the league. Something he'll add to the repertoire.
One of the things in the Boswell article also pointed out, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, is that although they're a great 3-point shooting team percentage-wise, they don't shoot as many threes as some of the top teams in the NBA, like Golden State. And nowadays, when you look at the teams that are winning championships, Spurs last year, they had Danny Green. They had a bunch of guys that could hit threes.
See, we differ a little bit because I think you just think the team is just fatally flawed as in terms of competing for a championship and being special. They're fatally flawed.
Yeah,
they can't get there. I think they're
yeah.
underachieving a little bit here, and I think that's what Randy's referring to. Now,
I think this is kind of like a natural before the All-Star break slump.
that could be.
They've lost 3 in a row.
Well, it doesn't get easier. Wednesday, they have to go travel to take on the Hawks. Then they have a game the next day at the Hornets, the team they just lost to.
Hawks
Try
game's
to get
gonna be
right against
interesting
those.
because I actually think that they match up pretty well against the Hawks because of their size. But they need more out of Gortat. In the last, several games, he hasn't given them that much. And there were some that thought he should have been an All-Star this year. Shaq had him as an All-Star when Shaq gave his All-Star.
He can't even pronounce his name. Didn't he call him Martin Gorchart? I think that's how he pronounced Gortat's
my thing
name.
with Gortat is I don't
I
have
go
any
back
problem.
and forth from Gortat to Gortat because sometimes I'll watch Buckhants. I think calls him
Yeah.
Gortat.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. The big guys, they have to give the big guys the ball. They're generally, although Nene, I'm kind of down on Nene. It's just injury, and I just don't think he's the same guy. But Gortat is still as healthy as he should be and as good as he should be. You just got to give him the ball. He needs the ball more. Feed the big man. Got to feed him.
Well, we'll keep our eye on the Wizards. They have lost 3 in a row, and I believe it's 6 of their last 10 or 7 of their last 10. So they've been slumping, but still 31-18 overall, 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference.
I see a regression in the mean, and I'm just, just have to readjust our expectations. Otherwise, we're just going to be soul crushed, in June. Let's just save all
you're
that.
used to that.
No, I'm just going to save it. I already know what's coming. An early exit.
EB, every once in a while you get good news. You thought Lurch was dead at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, it's true.
He's
just
still
sick.
alive. He's still with us.
True. Also found out somebody in my church died. So, I mean, it's everything's
Okay.
good and bad.
How
Yin and
old?
yang. I mean, an older person, but out of nowhere. 2 weeks ago, nobody thought that person was going to die. I mean, brutal.
All right, perfect bow to the show.
Yeah, that's the way the show works.
Thanks,
Start
Eric.
off with death, end
Sorry.
the show with death.
Sorry.
Hey, we're just being real. Be
All right, Lurch
realists.
should be back tomorrow for Cake CB. I'm JP. We'll see you then. Grant and Dan, you're up next on The Fan.
1067 The Fan.